Hello and welcome back. I am Tommy Brake Fluid and I just saw the new Lilo and Stitch movie. Now, I did not hate it, but I also didn't like it. It was honestly just a retelling of the classic Lilo and Stitch story. It's hard to mess that up, but they kind of did. The movie is kind of the same, but they do change a lot of details about it. Now, full disclosure, I do not like the new live action remake trend. I believe it is just a lazy cash grab to grab as much attention as possible with a story that we already know works. I would much rather see a new story with new ideas, but the trend right now is just give us the same thing we grew up with without even changing much about the story at all. I would also be fine with if they changed the story drastically to follow a different narrative or to tell a different story with using these iconic characters, but we don't see much of that. A good example of that is the new body horror movie, The Ugly Stepsister, which is a retelling of the Cinderella story, but from the perspective of the ugly stepsister. Now, that was a good story. It uses characters we already know to tell a different story about the lengths some people are willing to go to, quote unquote, become beautiful. Unlike the ugly stepsister, Lilo and Stitch tell the story pretty closely to the animated movie that we grew up on. But they do change some things here and there, which is fine, but I don't believe they changed them for the better. One example of that is the two aliens. I don't remember their names, but the skinny one with the one eye, the one that looks like Mike Wazowski and Randall had a baby, and the big evil genius guy. Well, part of the humor in the original Lilo and Stitch comes from them dressing up as human, but we know that they're an alien. They're not passing themselves off very good. Well, in this movie, they just clone a human and then just go the entire movie as a human, which I don't think would have is that funny. Yeah, they learn how to walk and all that, but it's not good. But there was one bit that I actually enjoyed and it got almost a chuckle out of me, and that was the breath mist gag. Lilo's neighbor gives her a what looks like pepper spray, but it says breath mist right on it. It's like, you ever get in any trouble, just spray this right in somebody's face. That bit was done okay, I guess. Not very good, but the humor in this movie just kind of fell flat. It was almost like they were taking from the original humor and then just messing up the timing. And then in the original movie, when, she feeds the fish a sandwich, she has this big, long, funny gag about how it's wrong to feed a fish tuna. That wasn't in this movie, and I think that was one of the funniest bits in the original movie. The pacing was way better. I believe it was like an hour and a half for the original movie, and it was an hour and 45 minutes for this new movie. And then in the new movie, 90% of the runtime is just very boring. It wasn't good, it wasn't funny, it was a pain just to sit through. There also was not enough Stitch in this movie. With whatever happens in the third act, I'm not going to spoil it. When that happens and we're meant to have this emotional connection to Stitch, I feel like it's more of an emotional connection to the first Stitch that they're kind of relying on with the animated Stitch, rather than this movie. Yeah, there are some aspects of it that are good and done right, but it does not feel like we should care very much about this Stitch. There's not enough of him in this movie, so I don't know. Now, the entire third act of this movie is completely changed, and I think for the worst. Without spoiling it, what we are meant to feel is not what we feel in the original movie. I think it's more compelling with Lilo being taken and Stitch escaping to then have this giant fight scene, essentially, that ultimately lead to saving Lilo. In this, we don't have that. We have something close to it, but it's not as good. And then the mosquito bits, are not in this movie. Yeah, we find out early on that they are an endangered species, but it never comes full circle with in the original. The mosquito bits, they don't come full circle. Cobra Bubbles does not say anything about them in the end. We have one scene of them, and that's just the beginning where we find out they're endangered. And there's not the scene of the skinny Mike Wazowski looking alien getting attacked by mosquitoes, and that's a great bit in the original movie. That's not in here. We have one mosquito scene, and that's just the very beginning when we find out they're endangered. And then in this movie, Agent Cobra Bubbles does not say anything about the mosquitoes and how he convinced the Galactic Federation that they were an endangered species when in reality they are not. Another thing they changed is the voice acting of the big guy, where he's no longer doing an accent. It's just him in an American accent. They try and shoehorn in some racism at the end. And it just fell flat. It wasn't built up. If it was built up, it would have been nice. But basically, all our main characters come up to Agent Bubbles and is like, hey, you need to help us. And then he says, well, I made an oath to serve and protect the citizens of the United States. And then they're like, what do you think we are? And it just fell flat. If they would have made this movie more about race, I think it would have worked. But trying to shoehorn it right at the end, it just felt really flat. Now, the absolute worst part of the Lilo and Stitch movie is the big captain dude from the Galactic Federation. I don't know his name, so we're just going to call him Captain Manta Ray. And in this new movie, Captain Manta Ray is not in the entire movie whatsoever. He is not the villain. He does not look for Stitch. He's not even there. Captain Manta Ray is such a great villain, and Disney doesn't even use him. Instead, all we get is the big guy turns into the villain. They should absolutely bring back Captain Manta Ray, because he is the greatest villain for this series. It is not Lilo and Stitch without Captain Manta Ray, and that is all I want to say. Bring back Captain Manta Ray. Bring him back. We need Captain Manta Ray. And then another thing that the original movie did that was really good was made us feel emotionally connected to Lilo right from the start, with establishing that she's just that weird oddball kid and she's misunderstood. She just needs a friend. And that's something we don't get in this movie. She comes off mean. I just did not feel very connected to her right from the beginning. Maybe I felt for her towards the end of the movie, but the original movie did the story way better than this one. And that is my problem with these new live action remakes. You're cutting stuff that make it a great story, or you are just doing a straight up retelling of the story. But I don't understand why Disney and DreamWorks, they want to do this. I just want something original, something new. Please give it to me. Let's make our own stories and just stop retelling the stories we've made. And with that, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye.